I'm Elizabeth Talbot, and I'm here with attorney Matthew Talbot, and we have an estate planning, probate, and trust firm in Walnut Creek, California. And today we're going to talk about the estate of Prince, who recently died, as many of you know, I'm sure. What's happened with his estate as far as whether or not he had a will, a trust, none of this has come out yet. So we're going to talk about hypothetically what could occur. So my first question for Matthew is, let's say that Prince, who actually had a good reputation as a business person, was very responsible and set up a trust for himself and put all his properties in a trust. What would happen at that point?
Well, what would happen at that point is that there's a named trustee if he can't act. And nobody would know a lot about the terms of the trust because the point of a trust is privacy. It stays out of the courts, it stays out of the public's eyes, and it ensures that everything is handled in private. This is exactly what happened with Marlon Brando's estate when he passed away. Everything was placed in a trust and very little is known beyond that. So the trustee's job would be to carry out the wishes, whether it means selling property, organizing assets, distributing to certain parties or persons, and paying the taxes and other costs and debts associated with the estate.
So let's say Prince forgot to do an estate plan. What would happen then? Let's say he has a will, but he otherwise forgot to do an estate plan.
Well, if he has a will and his estate is valued at $300 million, then it's certainly above the threshold for a court action in Minnesota, the state he resided in. And what that means is that it would be public. So a will and a trust are very similar. Someone is appointed, they would sell property, they would manage assets, they would distribute property and assets to other beneficiaries. The main difference is that everything would be in the public's eyes. It would be filed with the county court, and you know that TMZ and whomever else would be there in half a second to review everything and dig deep into everything to tell the rest of us exactly who we wanted all of his assets to get, who we wanted them, what they should receive, and what they actually got.
So, and I assume the situation would be similar if he didn't have a will at all. Let's say he didn't do any estate planning. We, as the public, would get to know all that information as well, right?
Well, that's correct. It'd be slightly different because if you have a will, it directs distribution. I could do a will and I could say, I want it to go to this person or this entity. For example, my understanding is that he's a Jehovah's Witness. He may have done a will or a trust to distribute some assets to that particular religion. In this instance, if he didn't do a will, then it would be distributed pursuant to intestate succession, which is where the state assumes a will for people who just don't do one. And it would most likely go along a family line. Do they have a spouse? No. Does he have children? No. Does he have parents? No. It would likely go to his siblings. I believe he has some siblings. And that can be problematic because sometimes it goes to people that maybe they don't have a close relationship with, or have an antagonistic relationship, but because they're technically siblings, they're entitled to funds, and that can lead to litigation.
So that's my last question. What are the potentials for litigation, which means fighting, essentially, in a case like this and with an estate that's worth so much money?
Well, obviously, people, when they see money is at stake, they can, and my 10 years experience, will try to fight for that, especially when we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars. So he also, if he didn't have children, doesn't have a spouse, those are kind of the natural objects of one's bounty. And if those don't exist, then it's easy for other people to come in and try to say, oh, well, Prince said he was going to give me this. Or maybe Prince didn't really mean to say that he was going to give that person that. He meant for me to get it. Interpreting Prince's intent becomes that litigation. When it's not clear and someone's saying, well, I'm the son or I'm the daughter, obviously Prince meant for me to get everything. And there can be a lot of other issues that can rise up. There's an issue right now with the Michael Jackson estate relating to taxes there and what the image and likeness of Michael Jackson is really worth. Similarly, Prince, there could be an issue there. So there can be a lot of different aspects of litigation that could arise in these types of instances. Even with a really good estate plan, it doesn't solve everything.